If you like to use reference images and other programs like PureRef, I'm sure you're gonna love this tutorial because you can do it even better in Blender. I recently made a project where I used this workflow. I had bunch of reference images, but also video clips to study. This is something that PureRef can't do. I was surprised to find out that I could just use Blender's video editing workspace and I wouldn't have to leave Blender. Here we can see the timeline that we are going to use as the reference pool. Blender supports all sorts of image files. GIFs, video files, HDRIs, you name it. You can drag files straight to the viewport and they will be also added to the timeline. You can also use this add menu, Shift-A shortcut, or drag your files to the timeline. Do this one by one unless you want your images to be turned into an image sequence. You can use mouse to organize these files in the viewport and timeline. Blender's default shortcuts also work here. Press G to move, S to scale, R to rotate, or X or delete to remove. You can also turn on snapping up here to get precise results. You can hide clips in the timeline with H shortcut and Alt H to show them again. You can adjust the length from these handles, which makes making reference sets more easier. These are great if you have an animation going and you want to have different references for each frame. You can press B to box select these strips if you want to move them together in the timeline. Or you can just turn these strips into a meta strip that you can access with the tab key. Or unmeta the strips back to timeline. Video files usually have sounds. If you don't want to hear them, in Blender 4.3 and above, you need to disconnect these strips if you want to remove the sound. In older versions, you can just delete the sound strip. You can use this cutting tool or K shortcut to trim the video clips. If you're like me, you most likely have a second monitor you want to view these references in, like you would do with other programs. You just have to go up here to Window, then press New Window. You can customize this like you would do with the main one. So now I got the timeline here. I can go to the top corner and drag a new workspace and change it to preview. This can also be any other workspace in Blender. You can enlarge any window with Ctrl Space shortcut. One thing I also like to use is to create a new window in Layout workspace. Then press Ctrl Alt Q to create these different views. These are so good, especially when modeling. And the great thing is that these settings are saved in the blend file. So next time you open the file, it should also open these windows. Now let's talk about sampling colors from palettes and other media. First you want to go to render settings. And down here, change the color space to standard with none as the look. This will make Blender treat the colors correctly. You can now go to your object material. Press E for eyedrop tool. Then select a part of the image and it samples the color. This also works with grease pencil objects. You can also sample colors in vertex paint mode and create your own color palette that you can use with grease pencil, sculpt mode painting, and texture painting. Did you know that you can also sample multiple colors to a color ramp node? Press Alt E in this area, then select colors one by one from the references. This saves so much time. And when you want to render everything out, you need to go to Output Properties and down here uncheck the sequencer box. This way Blender doesn't include the video editing timeline in your render and renders what's in the camera. If you have made any sound design in the blend file, you need to render a separate video or delete all image and video clips from the timeline. Remember to check the frame rate at Output Properties if you happen to add clips that have different rates than your project. Hope you learned something new. Please subscribe and watch this next. See you next time.